We like to call it the Supernatural Hour. And now, our hosts.
Hey, welcome to the Supernatural Hour podcast.
Hey, glad to be here.
I'm your host, Ravyn.
And I am your co-host, Chad.
And that is all. We knew that Doc might not be here tonight. He, being a doctor, his schedule can get really kind of wacky. Emmett and Rogue were supposed to be here tonight, but, you know, sometimes life just throws you a curve and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah,
so
Emmett may need a doctor.
We hope you're feeling better, Emmett. Anyway, so it is the Chad and Ravyn show tonight.
This will be exciting.
We hope so. Okay, so we are going to start off with the business. It's brought to you by Castle Photo Art. He's actually done our photos, and he really does a great job. He's my brother, as you all know, or if you may not know, and he either puts in 125% or he doesn't do it at all. So if you hit him up for some photos, he'll have a really nice job.
A really good job. Yeah, he does a really nice job and has got some great equipment. So for the business, we've had some interesting things. We're working on our next investigation, our next public investigation that we're planning for May. We've got to get a fire marshal approval before we're able to announce the investigation that we're working on for May. If not, we'll come up with something else.
So to my knowledge, this is the first time we've had to get fire marshal approval.
Well, other places are more working as an occupancy, and this is a little less occupant friendly at this point.
True.
It's going to be a neat venue, so looking for that hopefully we'll be able to do that in May.
Awesome. So as far as residentials, we've actually had 2 since we podcasted last, and they have been fun.
Yeah.
So the first one, I don't even know it was a residential. It's there's a group of anthropology students from UVU, Utah Valley University, and they wanted to do a study on ghost hunters. You know, their project is to pick a group and do a study on it. And so one of the gals came to Petite Neat with us, and then, you know, her whole group wasn't able to come. So then we arranged to go to Rock Canyon.
And Rock Canyon is in Provo is a really, really neat venue. It's lots of activity there. There's Native American spirits. There's, you know, been people that do some serious rock climbing there. Many have fallen to their death. People go up and commit suicide up there oftentimes. It's just a place with a lot of history.
Yes, and if you've listened to our podcasts, and when we've talked about it before, Ted Bundy even tried to snag somebody there. He failed, but it was a Ted Bundy hangout too. So.
Yeah. Well, and last summer we actually held our Supernatural Hour Insiders patron peoples. That's where we had our summer party there. So every summer we get together and have an investigation and a picnic and a party, and that's a lot of fun. So if you're interested in doing that with us this next summer, go out to Patreon and become a Supernatural Hour Insider. And in fact, we had one more Supernatural Hour Insider. We're glad to have you. I'm not going to give the name yet because she hasn't provided what name she wants to be identified with, but we're grateful to have all of our insiders, but we've got a new insider and we're really excited about that. So you know who you are. Welcome.
Yep. So anyway, back to the investigation. So we had a group of about 8 of us.
Uh-huh.
And we we took them to the areas where I had the most activity, you know, and where you have activity on a ghost hunt, it's going to vary a little bit depending on the day and depending on you.
What's the fishing analogy?
Yep.
It's like fishing. I
Yep.
mean,
sometimes you're pulling fish out right and left, and sometimes you're drowning worms. So anyway, so we went to one spot, and remember this because it'll come in relevant when we tell you about the residential.
you drowned some worms?
No. Well, I drowned a lot of worms.
At the first spot?
But we got some interaction with the Ghost Meter Pro, and I like that one a lot when I'm doing a public investigation because it's got the needle on it that people can see.
And the red lights that flash. It's pretty visual.
It's very visual, pretty self-explanatory. If you've never been ghost hunting before and you're with me, you can follow along the conversation really well.
And it's not something that people could say, "Oh, you're manipulating," like people sometimes say with dowsing rods.
Right. So, and then I like to shine my black light on it so that you can see the dial even better in the dark. Anyway, we were getting some interaction, but I said, show me 1 click for yes, it would click once. I'm like, now show me 2 for no, and it would click once. And I said, okay, that's 1, show me 2 for no, it would do it once. And it did this at Petite Neat too. And so I remember thinking, is my battery going dead? Do I need to change the batteries on this?
Yeah, because things were a little inconclusive.
Yeah.
They weren't. They didn't seem to be definitive.
Right. So it's like, oh, there's something here because it's interacting with the Ghost Meter Pro. But I told him, I said, I just don't feel confident in asking any questions because it's not showing me that it can do no.
And you were getting very, very little feedback on the K2 meter.
Right. No, I mean, yeah. The
It
K2
almost
meter,
didn't even
nothing.
blip.
No. And then I've got those new little, they call them cat balls. And I had those out, nothing.
And they flash when...
Yeah, you touch them and they flash red and blue. And they're called cat balls because I think initially they're supposed to be like toys for cats or like cat toys. Anyway, so we went up to, there's a little alcove. You could call it a cave, but it's a very, very shallow cave.
Maybe alcove. A grotto.
Yeah.
Alcove or cave is pushing it where you can see the back of it from the entrance.
Yeah. And when we were there last summer, it smelled like pee. It didn't smell like pee this time, so that was a plus. So we walk into that little alcove, and like all of us get in there. We're all squished in there, and it was heavy. And you could say, oh, well, yeah, it's heavy. You got 8 people squished in this little, 4x8 spot. Maybe it's a little deeper than that, but not much. But
maybe a little wider and
a little deeper, but not very big. But I mean, there was barely room for 6 or 7 of us in there. But I walked in there first, and it was heavy when it was just me in there. Anyway, we all get in there. That's when we got the K2 meter to go a little bit better. We used the dowsing rods more. The Ghost Meter Pro was not giving us, again.
What seemed like reliable answers.
Again, I thought, okay, I got to change my battery in this. This isn't any good. So we used the dowsing rods. And we determined that there were 3 type 3s in there, so 3 demonic entities. They were having a meeting, and they were not happy that we were there. And we harassed them a little bit. And one of the gals that was there I could feel that it was over my right shoulder. And there was a gal sitting just in front of me, and she said that she could feel something really heavy kind of pushing her just in that same area. She's like, it's over my left shoulder. And I'm like, yep. And so we had Charles point the dowsing rods, and sure enough, he pointed right, in the space that was between us.
And for those of you who are new, Charles is Ravyn's spirit guide. Yep. And she uses the dowsing rods with Charles to get information.
And I use those last. I would rather, because I could go in and just find out everything in 5 minutes. We'll use that at the very end of our investigation to confirm things. So then, we harassed them a little bit. We were getting a few answers through the dowsing rods up there. But then, time was getting a little late, and we went.
Okay, I got to break in, though.
Okay.
I'm going to share my story.
This is a good story.
Okay, so there is this little alcove in Rock Canyon. There's a trail called the Bonneville Shoreline Trail. And it's a paved trail. It's very nice. And this little alcove is just right there. And you're in the canyon, and you go another 100 yards over, and it opens up, and you can see the whole valley. But people will run and walk this trail because it's a really nice trail. It's well paved and maintained and everything. And while Ravyn and everyone else was in the alcove, I was sitting outside because there wasn't much room, and I was just sitting quietly on a rock, and I could hear a jogger come, you hear the footsteps from down the trail. And I took a flashlight that I had, pretty powerful flashlight, and I flashed it on the trail down in front 3 or 4 times just to kind of let him know that I was there. And he came by and I said hi, and apparently he didn't see the flashlight, and it was dark in the trail, and he came along and he just jumped, and you heard him, didn't you?
Yeah. He scared the absolute bejabers out of that man.
He had his, I think he had his AirPods in and was listening to music or something, and just absolutely scared him. So there will be a follow-up to this story in a little bit after Ravyn talks about where we go, because there's a follow-up in a little bit.
Yeah, so we went down to the creek bed and it's an empty creek bed at this point. I don't know, maybe there's some overflow there, but every time I've gone, it's been empty.
No, they've actually got it piped underneath where that water goes in. It's collected by the city and everything, and unless it's really, really in runoff, there's almost never water in that dry creek bed.
But there have been stories of a little girl spirit that people have run into there. And so we went under the bridge, and we were sitting there under the bridge. And, we had all of our little things there's a big rock there. We had all of our stuff on the rock. And the little girl actually came and talked to us. And she didn't talk very much, but boy, she lit those lights up. She loved my flashlights, which I haven't gotten anyone to light up in a long time. And on my flashlights...
And those are the oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
You were going to talk about them.
So these are the mag lights. And it's one of the very first ghost hunting tools I used. And you get the mag light, the mini ones. I'm sure you can do it with the big ones too, but we use the mini just because they're easier to haul around. And you turn them to where they're just barely not on. And, you turn it on, and then you kind of twist it back. And I have got one with a green lens in it and one with a red lens in it, so that if I do get some intelligent conversation through them, you can say, hey, turn the green light on, now turn the red light on, now turn them both off. And the idea is, if the spirit, does what you've asked it, then you go, oh, that's an intelligent spirit, because they're not just coming on randomly. And I don't know what's wrong with this red flashlight, but hardly any spirits ever turn it on.
It's like it's a little sticky, or there's something.
Yeah. But she was just, it was coming on all the time. I was like, woohoo. And she would light up the K2 meter, and she would turn the Ghost Meter Pro on. And we were asking questions through the dowsing rods. And two of the people that came had been ghost hunting before, and they had brought their own dowsing rods, and they were kind of doing their own little dowsing
investigations
rod
too.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it was fun. We got a lot of interaction on that. Not a lot of questions answered, because no one wanted to answer questions with the K2.
And the little girl was, I think, more interested in playing with the toys than answering the questions.
But she didn't turn on the little cat balls.
Right.
And so I was starting to think that they were broken or just too stiff to be used.
Yeah, and that was interesting. So, a couple of things. One, when we talk a little bit about the flashlights, with the flashlights, Klaus, when we were at the Off-Broadway Theater, he had a phenomenal flashlight session for about 30 minutes, where he said things were just, he asked questions and you were getting yes/no answers, and they would follow up, and the answers would be the same for the same kinds of questions. And he had a phenomenal one. I've seen some flashlight sessions that are just awesome that I've been involved in, and other times they seem random and no rhyme or reason to them. So those can be very, very spotty on how they work. But when they are on, they can be very, very telling.
Yeah, when WISPs very first started, one of the first places we investigated was a house just up from my parents' house.
That's in Payson?
Mm-hmm. And they had a spirit in their home named Annie, who was very, very active. And we had a flashlight session with her for probably an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And it was phenomenal. So, yeah, anyway. So that was that investigation. Not really a residential, but not a public investigation.
It wasn't public. It was a kind of a hybrid. So, following up on my trail story.
Oh, yes.
So I'm sitting under the bridge with, watching the K2 meters and the things with everyone else, and I can hear someone coming running down the trail. And so I take my flashlight and I start flashing it a whole bunch of times to get his attention. And he says, "Thank you."
He's probably thinking, who are these crazy people hiding in the dark in weird places?
But yeah, so we didn't scare the bejeebers out of him twice at the same night.
Anywho, so the next one we did was just last night, right?
Uh-huh.
It was amazing. It was probably one of the darker, most active residentials I've done in a long time.
In quite a while.
And Denise, who was with us, looked at me, and at one point she says, "This is the darkest investigation I've done." And I said, "Well, it's the darkest one that I know that we have done in quite some time."
Yeah, the Twilla investigation, I think, was darker in the house where we had that rock.
Yeah.
We have had darker, but this was an interesting investigation.
So we'll just jump straight to what was there, and then we'll tell you a little bit about it. So the people complained about shadow people. They complained about just bad feelings. I'm trying to think if there's anything else.
A big leak.
Oh yeah. So when we get there, we walk in and they're like, "Sorry, we've got a leak in the basement. We've got water dripping through the fire detector," which that's not supposed to happen. I mean, water does overcome fire, but it's not supposed to happen that way. And so we're like, "Do you need us to come back?" And then, no, you're fine. So we found 4 type 3s there, 4 demonic entities. They had come through a portal that was opened inadvertently, and over the course of the night, every single one of us got attacked. The homeowner's girlfriend complained of feeling nauseous. I first walked into the bedroom and just had this overwhelming lightheadedness. At one point, we walked into their billiards room. They had a game room. And there was a type 3 that was, I said, "Is it touching the back of my neck?" And the answer was yes. And then 2 seconds later, it's dry humping me. And I'm like, nope. I don't mind it, trying to squeeze my neck or pull on my arm. But when we start doing that, that's violating my personal space. Denise and her mom got pushed. I got pushed. I had something squeeze my neck. Everybody had something happen. And, but I put my Ghost Meter Pro on the bed, and the spirits that were talking to us, I said, "Show me 1 for yes, yes. Show me 2 for no, 2 for no, boom, boom." I was like,
Yeah, and it was acting as we expect it to act, where it hadn't been really in the last 2 investigations, where you had the question of whether it was needed a new battery or something. And you hadn't changed the battery, right?
Nope, I hadn't. In fact, I remember pulling it out thinking, "Oh, crap, I forgot to change the battery in this." But it worked
Flawlessly.
Also, one of my cat balls turned on.
Which had never happened before in an investigation.
Yeah.
And you've only had them for a month or so.
I've only had them for the last 3.
Right.
3 residentials and Petite Neat.
Yeah, but we were beginning to wonder if they would work, and because she'd never had one turn on.
Denise has them, and they work wonderfully.
Hers
work really well, and but it depends on the spirit that's interacting with.
Well,
them.
and it could be the spirit, and it could actually be the device too. That some devices may be more sensitive than others.
So I was standing at the foot of the bed, and I put one of the balls just kind of close by, and then I took the other one and just kind of chucked it up at, by the pillows.
Headboard. Yep.
And it sat there for about 5 minutes, and then suddenly it went off. And I said, "Hey, no one's ever done that before. No one's ever, touched that and made it go off." I said, "Can you do it again?" And then the answer I got on the Ghost Meter Pro was no. I was like, "Well, rude." So, Chad, you have a phone app that will spit out words. And the thing with phone apps is I'm very leery about them. They're like, Denise has one that I really like. You've got this one that I quite like. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. Like anything, you need to, if you want a phone app, download it, take it on some ghost hunt, see if it works for you, see if it doesn't. I tend to not use them, but if other people do and they get good results. Well, Chad was standing in the corner, and we were asking some yes/no questions, and I believe we had determined that they were type 3s, and we asked if it was causing issues on purpose. And not 2 seconds later, the word that pops out of Chad's phone app is guilty. And we all burst out laughing. I actually have a good clip of it. If we can figure out how to put it in the podcast and sound good, we'll put it on. But It was, we just all laughed.
Yeah, the guilty might be a little bit quiet in this because I was actually in the front room and they were down the hallway a little bit, and then
this one you were in the room with us.
No, I wasn't. I was sitting in that front room. Yes, I was sitting in the front room.
So it said two things that were very, very relevant the first time you were in the room with us.
And which ones were those?
The guilty. You were in the room with us, and I don't remember what the other one was. Anyway,
Go on.
So it was, yeah, 2 or 3 times it said very relevant words. And usually when you're using these, you'll be talking to someone about, how did you die? Or, are you happy being here? And the app will say things like pizza, things that are not relevant at all. But there was 2 times that just in very quick succession, we got answers that were extremely relevant, and I don't call that a coincidence. So there was a small portal that had been opened up inadvertently in the basement, and it was in one of the roommates' rooms, and they didn't tell us that we couldn't go in there, and she was there, but I don't know, something just didn't feel right about going down there and closing that portal ourselves. So we called our friend Newman, and he closed the portal. And
remotely.
Remotely. And the interesting thing is I just called him and said, hey, Newman, we've got a portal that we need closed. Can you get it closed for us? And he said yes. And at one point he said, this spirit is causing water problems in your home. And the homeowner and his girlfriend at the same time went, because like I said, when we walked in, the first thing they said is, sorry, we've got water dripping out of our fire alarm. So that was really cool. Anyway, we got those type 3s cleared out. We kind of let the homeowners know what they could do to keep those out, and that was a fun one.
Yeah, and that app is called GhostTube, and it's available on the Apple Store and also the Play Store for Google. I've found it to be quite good. They've actually got 3 kind of versions of it. There's the one that provides the words that we were just talking about. There's another one that's like the SLS that we use, where it uses a technology that kind of maps people. I haven't been really successful with that one yet. I have seen that from other people using that app at Petite Neat when we were there. That one of our patrons, Samara, got a really, really great. Oh, I just got something. Possessed is what I just said.
Awesome. I hope none of us isn't possessed.
But Samara had some really interesting video with the YouTube SLS app. And then there's one I haven't tried yet. It's the YouTube Vox app. But they're all available. They're free for download. You can get extended versions for, $2 or $3 a month or $10 a year, something like that. And this is not, a paid promotion or anything like that. But if you're interested in finding a tool for your phone, you might want to look into those.
Right. And regardless the phone word app you get, I've run into probably a half a dozen or so that people have had, and they've all said the same thing. When you first turn it on, you need to just ignore the words out of it for like the first 15, 20 minutes because it'll just kind of chug out.
Yeah.
Like it's warming up some random words, so kind of ignore it for the first 15 minutes.
And this one does not have any, and it actually says as you go through the screen at the beginning, there are no preloaded words in its dictionary.
Right.
So some of them, they have some preloaded words and things that come up, but they make the claim here that there are no preloaded words for these apps.
Yeah, and and I can understand people listening to this going, oh yeah, every once in a while a word is just going to be relevant, randomly, but last night we had too many that were relevant.
And timing. Both from a timing standpoint, yeah. And
not only the word was relevant to our discussion, but the timing was like, no, that's for real.
And we had another investigation, and this was up in Ogden, and Ravyn and I were doing it, and it was a different app that generated words like this. And that one, we were very, very, that app had been so-so for me. But that night, it was like right on, wasn't it? Remember that?
It was right on.
And so I don't know of the validity of these all the time, every time, but sometimes things get on and it seems much, much more than coincidental.
Right. So one last thing about this residential, then we'll move on to our main topic for the night. But, I had mentioned before that at this house, we were all attacked in one way or another because, there was 4 type 3s there. And we called Sean, he closed the portal, we got everything crossed over. And after we hung up, and I hadn't mentioned that we got attacked, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because nothing was overly egregious, but I haven't had that many people get attacked on an investigation before. And not 2 minutes later, his wife Michelle calls back, and she's never done this. We've called them half a dozen times at least in the last year, and she's never called me back. And she called back and she said, I just really feel like someone has been attacked. Has someone been attacked? I'm like, yeah, all of us. So she helped clear us all and made us feel better. But when we left, the house felt a lot lighter and a lot clearer. So we were glad we were able to go in there and help.
Yeah, it was a really, really interesting investigation. So, go out to our shop, advancedparanormal.com shop, and get some sage oil, get some other things. We're really excited about that. Hit our TikTok page, our YouTube page. We're up to like 140 subscribers on YouTube. We'd love to get some more if you're not already subscribed out there for us. Please go out, youtube.com/advancedparanormal, and you go right in. You'll see the little ghost with the headphones. That's us. And please go in and subscribe. We'd love to get some more subscriptions there. It's kind of fun. On our YouTubes, we oftentimes will include photographs and different things in the YouTube of things we talk about here. When I prepare the YouTubes, I'll go out and look for things that I can put in that are applicable to the topic that we're doing.
Okay, so our junk drawer is brought to you by the Hub Theater. We're definitely going to go there again. So if you want 6 minutes and 44 seconds of your life to just go away and never come back again, you can go to YouTube and look up Haunted Avocados, or Are Ghosts Moving Fruits Around?
Okay.
I ran across this. The best junk drawers are the ones that just kind of fall in my lap if I go looking for something. This one actually kind of falls in with our wacky paranormal news, if you remember that. The thing with wacky paranormal news is when you try to find it, you can't find it. It literally has to just fall into your lap. So this actually came up when I was looking for aports with 1P. The fellow who did it, I don't think English is his first language, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way. Anybody that learns a second language, my hat off to you. I'm trying to learn a second language. It's hard, folks. It's difficult. So I'm not making fun of him. The point is, I don't know if this is real, and I don't know if it's trying to be funny. There was something thrown in there about how tomatoes have salmonella DNA, and you saw more tomatoes than you did avocados. But I need to tell you this story. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
For this, just another reason to not eat avocados. Okay.
I love avocados. Guacamole is delicious. I get Ravyn's guacamole and avocados when we go to Mexican
Yeah, I have to say, give it to me on the side, and then he gets it because it's just disgusting. Okay. And it's not the texture. It's
I'm
the flavor.
putting the picture of the avocados above here. If you're listening to or watching this on YouTube.
Yeah, people say, is it the I don't have issues with food texture. Avocados just have a gross flavor. That's just more for the rest of you, though, right? All right. So there's this man. He was working. He worked at, I'm going to assume, like a deli. And he threw an avocado on the ground. Why you would throw an avocado on the ground, I don't know.
I would think you would know.
Well, because they're gross, but I wouldn't even buy it to begin with. Anyway, so he threw an avocado on the ground, and he said it started rolling around on its own. And I'm going to assume, if you drop something on the ground, it's going to roll around a little bit.
Yeah,
anyway,
there's some inertia. There's some.
Right? But the way he talked about it, apparently it moved abnormally, so than just your regular, I've dropped something. So he filmed the avocado because he was trying to film that it was moving weirdly. But it switched to film a hot rod hearse. If you watch this, if you look it up and watch it, you'll understand why I'm not telling the story so great. Anyway, but he tried to film the avocado, but he just got the avocado, and then he tried to film a hearse, but the avocado would place itself in front of the camera. All he could see was the avocado. He couldn't see this hot rod hearse, which probably could be a junk drawer all on its own, but he just could not get away from this avocado. So the next day, he thought he'd finally had rid himself of the avocado, and he went to get coffee, went to a drive-thru, and he saw an avocado on the ledge of the drive-thru, and not any avocado, the avocado that he threw on the ground. Now, how he knew it was that same avocado, I don't know. Doesn't go into it.
Ties back in. It was apporting or apporting.
So he tried to film another car for some reason, but he still just got the avocado. And every time he tried to film something, all he could see on this film was an avocado. And the film that he shows you, the avocado looks like it's like 1 inch away from his screen. Very out of focus. The background sounds in his video were actually quite cool, to be honest with you. I thought they were kind of cool. In his video, you can hear the hearse, and again, but all you can see is the avocado. And he says, beware of the avocado. It could be anywhere. And he questioned, how did it get from his office, from his work to the coffee shop? And he also wants to know, where is it now? So, is this like real? Is it a spoof? I couldn't quite tell because of the nature of grammar and stuff. If you have 6 minutes and 44 seconds with nothing better to do, it's called Haunted Avocados, or Are Ghosts Moving Fruits Around? It's interesting.
Go search for that on YouTube.
So, yeah, Haunted Avocados is your junk drawer of the day.
Wow. The Hub Theater. That's a great place to go if you're looking for setting up events and setting up things for family stuff. They also have shows with magicians. We have been out there for ghost investigations. They also have magicians that appear in different things.
Movies, and they've got a lot of things.
So go out and check out our friends at the Town Hub Theater, or the Hub Town Theater,
The Hub Theater.
The Hub Theater.
It used to be called the Town Center, so we get it confused.
Okay. We've been around a long time. It's changed owners.
All right. Stay spooky, my haunty friends.
Hey, have a great night. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Supernatural Hour at AdvancedParanormal.com. The Supernatural Hour is part of the Radio Ronin network, found at RadioRonin.com. Copyright by Advanced Paranormal Services.